One of the challenges that people have with meditation, as well as in daily life, but the question is particularly acute during meditation, people have trouble with thoughts. And I've heard a lot of people say, I can't stop thinking, the current is too strong, I can't stop it, how do I make it stop? The question proceeding, how do I stop thinking, to me is, where do I place my attention instead? So thoughts can include all sorts of elements. But essentially, a thought is a simulation of normal sensory stimuli. So if I'm having a fantasy of what I'm going to be doing at work or something that I'm going to be doing today, and I'm contemplating how something might be carried out, for instance, there might be sounds or visuals that arise. And that's essentially what thoughts are. At least the less abstract thoughts. So the entry point is this: when you're not thinking, you're sensing what is actually arising in the current moment. It's just a redirection. So what am I sensing right now? What am I hearing? What am I seeing? What am I smelling? What am I feeling? And feeling is a big one. Because there's so much in the body that we can feel. The sensation in our arms, our chest, our legs, all the way down to our feet. There's a surplus of sensation going on at any moment, just inside the body. Of course, when we meditate, our eyes are closed, so the visual sensations are somewhat dampened. But listening and feeling can take us there. When we start sensing what's going on inside and outside, our awareness expands. So while we were thinking, our awareness is engaged in the thought process. But the awareness faculty, now that it's concentrated on sensory, on the sensory inputs, our feelings, in a sense, expand. When we direct our attention into the body, we'll become aware of many things. Tingling sensations, sensations of depth or thickness. Pains can certainly also be there. If pain is there, draw your attention to it. Where there's tension, draw your attention there. But more than anything, draw your attention to your center. Thoughts are not a problem. Even when we're deeply grounded in the present moment, thoughts can come and go. That's normal. It only becomes problematic when we're so identified with the thinking process that it creates suffering in our lives. And when we've essentially lost control. And then the thought loop, it spins a destructive narrative. When thinking has gotten that far out of control, it can seem difficult or impossible to regain control. But once you know you've lost control, it's easier to regain it. And you can begin by sensing what is going on. Using your sensory inputs as doorways. And if it's helpful, it often can be helpful, is to use questions to get there. What can I hear at this moment? What am I feeling at this moment? Questions have a lot of power to direct our attention. If you find yourself engaged in destructive patterns of thinking, there are ways to curtail it. The first and foremost is to realize that you're worthy of love, and so is the little self that is limited and ignorant and weak. And doesn't seem to know how to navigate the world very well without making mistakes and encountering pain and creating pain for itself. You're no less worthy than anyone else. And it doesn't matter who the comparison is. When the destructive thoughts arise, typically there's a trigger to begin the process. And as the process continues, it carries out a fairly predictable pattern of thinking. And a part of us is aware of it when it happens, because now we recognize, oh no, here it comes again. But it's a very small part of us that's usually awake, and that's why it grows uncontained. But really, it's not the containment and the control that prevents the pain and suffering that's created as a result. It's just the opposite. It's when we try to chain it up and tether it and try to bend it to our will that the tension arises. But all the little self needs, the me, the ego, all it needs is love and to be integrated into the larger self. When a destructive pattern of thinking is in process, notice it. See that it's there. And when you do that, something magical happens, because now you have a choice. Whereas before, the pattern is unseen, and it carries on a predictable path. With an endpoint of pain and misery and self-pity and anxiousness and however it happens to manifest. But when you're aware of it, there's a choice. And sometimes there isn't much room. But the more quickly you become aware that it's been activated, the more space you have and the more time you have to redirect it into something healthy and positive and productive. Once a pattern is initiated, a pattern of thinking or behaving is initiated, it's not a foregone conclusion to assume that the only way is going to be pain and to be brought to a terminus that you've already been before. When you see the process happening, you have a choice. And you won't always be successful. I tend to think that awareness isn't quite enough. Teachings that emphasize awareness and observation alone can leave some people feeling like something is missing. There is an emotional component. Because you're not just a watcher, you're an experiencer. Love does seem to be the transformative element. Giving yourself a chance. To become what you couldn't before. Because while the past is written, the present is not. And even as the present unfolds, our perception of the past too can transform. In meditation, have curiosity. And in dealing with yourself and others, have love. But actually have love in meditation too. And curiosity with yourself and your relationships. Including your relationship to all things.